I had some like weird overdose before I came down to Austin. That's kind of like how this all started. I got like put up in the hospital for a week and a half, and then I came down here, hung out in a hotel room for 3 days, and then I finally got into treatment.
I would party when I was a kid, like smoke weed and drink, but personally, I hate drinking. I never liked it. So I did that probably till I was 17 years old. And then I think it's typical, it's most people's story, was like, found a girl that I swore was the love of my life, and then got my heart broken. And then someone introduced me to Xanax, and I was like, man, I could just do this from now on, and I'm not so sad all the time. And that's the true beginning of my addiction, was Xanax. That was my first thing I really got addicted to. I would take one a day, and then two a day, and then a handful. And then I found people that also like to do Vicodin and other pain pills. Around that same time was cocaine and Xanax, and it was just, that was the trifecta for sure, was heroin, cocaine, and Xanax. And it was kind of just like a drug-fueled train wreck until I was 26 years old. You know, is when I finally like made a decision to get better. I don't know if you've ever had that moment, and for me it was like, shit, I didn't even stay sober after that, dude, but like shortly after I got sober, like a month or two later I got sober, and it was literally a fight for my life. Like, I lost all control, right? I had been sober for like 4 or 5 months. I was at some treatment, but I wasn't doing shit, man. Like, I wasn't working a program. I was just dry, right? I was just not using drugs. And I turned 26, man. Mom and dad's insurance ran out. And my grandma took me in Florida, actually. It was real tough, man. Like, I felt bad because I was going through it. I think then I wanted to be sober, but it's just that fucking light didn't turn on yet. So I was just real resistant. I got real depressed. I got really, really depressed, man. Like, I couldn't get out of bed for more than I couldn't get out of bed and have real energy for more than like 2 hours a day. And I'd have to go back in bed, and it was fucking my grandma up. Like, her seeing me just laying around all day. And she was like, she's like, what's wrong with you? How can I help you? And, you know, how shitty is it to like not have patience for your grandma, or like not, you know, give her the respect she deserves? But I was just like hurting so bad that like I was trying so hard to not hurt her feelings, but I just was so unhappy with myself that I couldn't like be up and out of bed and present and be a good grandson to her. Like this 85-year-old woman that's like needs my help around the house and shit, and I just like laying in bed all day, you know. I told her, I was like, I called my parents and I was like, I really want to go back to New York. And I think like subconsciously I knew like it was fucking game on. This was the low. I get home, man, I go right to my fucking mom's purse and I steal a $100 bill out of it. I go right to my drug dealer's house that I haven't seen in 6 months, and I just fucking call him up. I get fucking heroin, dude, and I relapse the day I get back. The fucking day I get back. And that shit didn't stop, man. It's like, I know anyone that's probably experienced like relapsing before, it's not a graceful, slow decline, especially like when you reach a certain point in your addiction. It's like if you put a drug back in your body, the wheels fall off pretty much instantly. At least in my case, they did. My grandma, she finally came home from Florida, and she was expecting to see me. And keep in mind, like, she saw me when I was sober, right? When I was living with her, I was sober. So then the next time she sees me, it's her first day back in New York, and I had been using heroin for 6 months. So I look like shit, dude. I look like a fucking zombie. The only way I can describe it is her face. The look on her face when she saw me 6 months later, and that back and addicted to heroin and that fucking far down the hole, she looks scared of me. She looks scared of me. That fucked me up. Like, that was the one thing that really, really opened my eyes, where I was like, what the fuck am I doing? These look cool. They look like they're up and running.
I rode like every day of my life, probably from the time I was like 13 or 14 until probably 20 years old or 21. And then after that, life got in the way, kinda. I started riding again when I was a year and a half sober. It's actually kind of cool because that was a tough time for me to be sober. And there's a lot of I don't know, I was struggling, right? I was struggling to stay sober, to be honest with you. And it reminded me why I did it in the first place. And that was because I loved it. And like, I forgot about that. There's this like peace about it. This freedom is like very relaxing. It's kind of weird, I guess. Like there's a bunch of people around you, but for me, it's like I'm focused on this one thing. I'm excited to learn a new trick, or even there's a bunch of people around. It's like this super peaceful, almost like meditative thing that I have that I could use, you know? So I came down here to go to treatment. I had some like weird overdose before I came down to Austin. That's kind of like how this all started. Was I got like put up in the hospital for a couple weeks, or like a week and a half, and then I finally got into treatment.
So my band, the Seventh Circuit, I guess it's a long story, really. We were all clients, pretty close together. We all went through Recovery Unplugged, probably within the span of 6 months of each other. Richie, Brett, and Drew went through the program all at the same time, so they met in inpatient treatment. Now, me and CJ, we had already gone through treatment, and we were just finishing up outpatient, or IOP, and we were just about to be done when all the rest of the guys just got into IOP. We all became friends pretty quickly. Me and CJ had our own band that we were messing around with. CJ threw a house party one night, and we had a bunch of bands play in his garage. And our band played, the one we were in before the Seventh Circuit, and then Richie, Brett, and Drew, they performed at that party too. Pretty much after the party, I think Brett and Richie reached out and were like, hey, we really want y'all to be a part of the band with us. Shortly after that, me and CJ joined up with them, and that's what the Seventh Circuit is now. So the longer we went on, we all kept just continuing staying sober. We all stayed really involved with the alumni part of Recovery Unplugged, going to the alumni meeting and just being of service. Somewhere down the line, well, I was the first one to get a job here, then Richie started soon after me, and then it kind of just fell in a line. You know, and then keep in mind, this whole time we're playing music around town, we definitely have our name associated with Recovery Unplugged, because that's where we all met, and we play with a lot of other musicians from Recovery Unplugged.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to work with Jay and to grow with Jay. I think the first time we met, he was so nice, just coming up to me. You know, I was new and he'd been in IOP for a few months or whatever, and he's like, hey man, what's going on? You know, if you want to jam sometime, hit me up. And I was like, yeah, okay.
The first time I saw Jay, we were in the same process group and we had the same counselor. I remember one day I said, I want to like hang out with that guy. And this is before I started doing music with Brett and Richie, because I actually came through a little before them as well.
When my band started doing things, you know, and like, it was really just me, Drew, and Richie, but we started like playing out and stuff. And our other band member, CJ, had a show at his house, and Jay played in a band with CJ.
I started getting involved in the music with Brett and Richie when we were at that show at CJ's garage. We saw them doing their music and we were actually really impressed and kind of wanted to work with them. We were like, this is like a perfect situation if we can get them in the band.
We went and we played at this show, and I remember watching Jay play drums, and I was like, I want that guy in my band. I was like literally standing next to Drew going like, I want this guy.
Throughout the time that we've been clean, Jay's really he's become such a different person in a good way, where he's like become, I don't even know how to explain it. He's really good at what he does for work, and he's an even better person in real life.
Seeing him be like an assertive leader, you know, in a community, and like a force to be reckoned with musically also. It's been a beautiful journey, and it's been great to see that development out of him, you know.
When I was using, I was isolated, man. I was locked away in a room. And I mean, that was years and years of my life. My old friends, like the ones that were my true friends and that were with me through all of that, even though I wasn't great to them, like they just never fucking gave up on me. My family, like I was real shitty to them. They never gave up on me, right? And it's not like I was
going out of my way to hang out with my friends or be around my family. So I was just, like I said, totally isolated. Nowadays, I have this, endless amount of people. Whether it's the people that I look to for help, the people that I try to help, my family, which now I have this like amazing relationship with. It sounds crazy to say, but I think they'd agree with me, is like, nothing's a secret anymore, you know? Nothing's a secret. And now we could just talk. On a whole deeper level than I ever thought I would relate to my fucking parents. Usually when you get out of treatment and other treatment centers I've been to, I'm still friends with a lot of people I went through treatment with. But it seems like at Recovery Unplugged, like the alumni kind of tend to stick around. And I think it's a bunch of people who like got transplanted and thrown into a situation, and it's a bunch of people kind of banding together and like starting their independent life and like doing it together with a community. And I've been doing that for 2 years now. Like, it's not just like a little blip in time. Like, it's a couple years where that's my family, like that's, and it's still just as strong as ever. And I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. If I could tell someone what I needed to hear, I guess, when I was getting sober, one, maybe trust people, because who the fuck trusts anybody when you've been living this insane life? So it's like, trust people that you see success in their life and you see who's a good person and who you want to be like and who you can learn from. And just don't try to figure it out yourself. Just step back and like learn, Just learn from people that you look up to. That's what I did. I don't know if I heard that when I was getting sober, I probably would have been like, what the fuck does that mean? But that's what worked. That's really what worked. And then you get to give it back. And then you get to be the person to help people. And that's the best part about this whole thing.